little bit of Warcraft movie news to go over. So, some initial reports were stating that Warcraft had actually earned, thanks to China, that it had actually made some money on its investment. Um, but apparently, and just to give you some numbers here, Warcraft worldwide made 430 million. Only 46.6 million came from the U.S. and 221 million, which is over half of the 430 alone, came from China. So yeah, they were really helped by that. And according to Jeff Bach, giving this information to the Hollywood Reporter, he's apparently an industry analyst. He said, if China didn't end up grossing what it did, this would have been an utter failure. Now it's only a mild concussion. And apparently, the movie had a budget of 160 million, and after marketing or everything like that, it's going to lose about 15 million. So even though it didn't quite break even, it had such a huge budget that it didn't quite make it back. And apparently, Jeff continues to talk about other sequels that didn't do too well in the box office here, but they're still getting sequels, and they're just going to have a smaller budget this time around, like Pacific Rim. They're working on the sequel for that, but with less money. And sometimes when you have a smaller budget, you can make something that's a lot better than if you came out with a really high budget. Here's my opinion. Spend some money on some star power, for crying out loud. Get someone who's actually recognizable to be the face of this franchise. None of these B movie actors. I know that, I said something like when we first started talking about it, that some of these people hadn't even been in movies yet. That wasn't quite accurate. However, none of them have been in leading roles in any kind of major movie. You need someone like Chris Pratt. You need someone like I'm trying to think of his name. Ben Affleck. Someone I'm talking about. I'm not saying get those guys specifically, but someone who is at that level. Michael Fassbender. Someone who is current and not just being the side roles in B movies. That's what you need to spend your money on, Blizzard, and whoever makes this movie. I don't even know what studio is making it, but hold back on the CGI. You don't even need it that much. And to me, CGI seems to be it should be cheaper nowadays. It should be fairly reasonable, since every movie practically has CGI in it. So it's much more commonplace, should be cheaper, quicker to do. I don't see why it's still costing so much of your budget. And then you have nothing left over to cast someone that people actually know when they see the trailer. Chris Hemsworth, he alone brings in people to otherwise movies that would otherwise be just no one would go see. Like the Heart of the Sea, none of the reviews were good for that, but I think it did fairly well. And I would say people like Chris Hemsworth. So you cast the right people, they will bring in people. They will bring in an audience. The U.S., China probably doesn't care about that, to be honest. That's probably why it did so well. The game is just popular over there now, since they've, done a lot of legalizing with certain games. So Warcraft is kind of a new property to them. It's only been available for a few years. We've had it forever. So we're kind of tired of it.
Yeah. Also, I feel like only people who actually played the game went and saw this movie, and I feel like there were even like some people who like play video games and didn't play the game. They still went to go see the movie. So,
But if you had someone like Ian McKellen in it, I mean, who, name a bigger name than that. Any one of the Lord of the Rings actors you could have thrown in here, and people would have been like, "Oh, I remember him from Lord of the Rings. That movie was good. This movie must be good too." People's minds work that way subconsciously. Like, if you want to pull in, because you have your built-in base, yes, you have people who played the game, they got the look of the orcs down pat, in my opinion, just comparing to how they look like in the game. Um, I just don't know how it is that they didn't set aside just a little extra, like 10 million more dollars to um, get someone who can actually pull in an audience. And that would have, honestly, you would have done close to 100 million here, I think. But a sequel is not out of the question for Warcraft at this point. I mean, apparently you can make a movie that worldwide still loses 15 million, but they wanted to build a franchise with this, and it's I guess it's not out of the question as long as they play their cards right, have a reasonable budget in mind, and I still think the sequel would not hurt to cast a big name actor. Do you think so? You think not? Do you think someone like that would actually help bring in an audience? I still wouldn't go see it, but that's me.
um, I feel like it would bring in at least some people, you know, because what you said is right. Some people will go see a movie just because a certain actor is in it, and like,
If Robert Downey Jr. were in it, I'd go see it. And I mean that. I'm being serious.
no, I'd probably do. I love Robert Downey Jr.
So it can work. You just have to cast the right person who's worked in that genre, in the fantasy genre before. Or, hey, if Robert Downey Jr. would love to be like I don't know, an orc.
That'd be interesting.
That would be. But yeah, there's all kinds of different directions you can go with this just to pull people in. Um, it's it's not all about the CG and staying true to the source material. Were you gonna say something?
I was I was just thinking like Robert Downey Jr. and then I thought primitive Iron Orc, where he just
Ah,
uses like fire magic.
I see. I see where you're going with that.
Also, I feel really bad about this because when you said Chris Hemsworth, I actually looked him up because I didn't know who he was.
He's Thor.
That's Thor! I'm really bad with celebrity names.
Yeah, if you just go watch the movies, they can fly right over your head.